Hi everybody, and welcome back to Every Stitch Counts. Once again, I feel like it's been a hot minute since I've been back here and able to film for you guys, but I'm happy to be back. I spent quite a bit of time recently on the East Coast with my best friend and her family and kids, and in general have just been traveling quite a bit this year, but we're in a low point. I have one more trip planned, which I'm taking with my sister next week to LA to see some family and just go down there for a little mid-year break, which I can't believe it is the month of May. So in honor of that, you should hit the subscribe button. You should also like and thumbs up this video and push the bell notification thingy so you can get notified whenever I film, because as you are familiar, if you have been around here for a while, it's a bit sporadic. But for those of you that don't know me, my name is Charlotte, and I am a maker here on YouTube. I primarily do knitting, but I also enjoy lots of other things. But this is a podcast just about the things that I make and my process and my experience, how I feel about the pattern, the garment, whatever it is that I've made, and kind of just my general opinions about all things knitting. The one thing you'll always get here is honesty. If I don't like something, I will just tell you. I don't feel the need to like everything, and there's definite preferences that I have, and so if you feel aesthetically inclined or like you connect with some of the things that I like or things that I've made in the past, you should hang out some more and yeah, subscribe so you can not miss anything I do. Also, this is my dog Lady. We're based out of the Seattle area, and I spend a lot of time with her. As you can imagine, because she's so cute. You're so cute. You're so cute. I have quite a bit of actually things that I've recently bought to show you in this episode. So a bit different than what I normally do. I don't usually buy, I don't usually try to make a hobby out of buying yarn. I'm really committed this year to using the stash that I have and using yarn that I have and maybe making things that I wouldn't have made otherwise, or being a bit creative with the things that I'm gonna make, because I really don't want to just have buckets and buckets of yarn in my apartment, and I don't want to be that kind of consumer. I want to buy the yarn and then I want to make the thing. So that's what I'm really trying to do this year. But I did make some purchases because I do also, in lieu of wanting to use my stash this year, really have some knitting goals that I want to accomplish, and so I bought some yarn for that. And then, I'm no saint. Some of it was just a really good deal. So stay tuned at the end for that. I've technically only finished one item since I last spoke with everybody here, but I'm I'm in the middle of the bind off for another object, which I'm really excited to have almost done and out of the way. But to get things kicked off, I will show you my most recently finished object, and that is my Lulu Slipover. So this is a petite knit pattern. It's very popular. If you haven't seen it already, you can just go to her page. It's everywhere. The Lulu Slipover. I think she released this version, which is the original worsted weight version, last fall sometime, maybe even early this year. It hasn't been that long since it's been out, but I made the size small, which I think in petite knit world is the third size. And I used a farm yarn that I purchased at Rhinebeck 2 years ago. It was from Wing and a Prayer Farm. It was a 4-ply worsted weight, worsted spun, 80% alpaca and 20% just wool blend. So as you can see, because of the alpaca content in this, it is crazy drapey. This is also so heavy. I haven't actually weighed this by gram yet, on a scale, but it is heavy. I almost can't imagine wearing this as a sweater because it's very warm and it's just very heavy to actually just have on your body. I feel like it would get sweaty as a full-blown sweater. But a little bit about the yarn. I don't know, hopefully you'll be able to see, you know, a fair bit on camera. You see how fuzzy that is? It was not the most fun to knit up and work with because the yarn itself sheds like nothing I've ever seen. I would be sitting on my chair working on it, and then I would stand up and it would be like dusting and like brushing dust and dirt off of me. Like there wasn't actual dirt in this, but the hair from the alpaca is actual hair fibers. And so it was like shedding all this stuff all the time. And I was like, oh gosh, like I don't know that I'm gonna want to wear something that is just shedding all the time. Not even, it was a different kind of shedding than like, you know, a mohair would shed. It was a lot. And there was even little bits of vegetable matter and just random things in this yarn. Some of that you have to kind of expect when you're purchasing from like a small mill or you're purchasing from a farm producer. Like the yarn is going to be way less processed than the yarns we buy in the store. It's not going to be like knitting for Olive, for example. But I was kind of worried that because of the shedding factor, it was going to look like shaggy. I didn't want it to look shaggy or scrappy. I really was hoping that it would look very clean and neat because the pattern has like really nice details on it. It has this really cool side closure where it's actually not stitched together. It just has these two buttons kind of holding it together. And in general, like most of petite knit patterns, I just thought that the finishings on this were so nice, and I didn't want the yarn to like overshadow that and make it not stand out as much. I also, if you have watched before, you would have heard me talk about how difficult it was to find a pattern that really I felt would suit this yarn. And so this was my last attempt at like trying to use this. And so I really wanted it to work well. Happy to say it still sheds. Like it will always shed. It will always be one of those sweaters that maybe sheds more than other patterns, but it definitely, after being washed and blocked, isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And I think that, like, again, after it was washed and blocked, like, it looks nice. It doesn't look scrappy, for lack of a better word. It doesn't look cheap. I think it still looks very high quality and very nice, which ultimately is what I was going for when I made it, because this was expensive yarn. I think when I bought it 2 years ago, what was it? I think it was like $35 for 140 yards. And I bought 8 skeins. So I really wanted this to be a timeless piece. I also wanted it to be one that was going to look as expensive as it was. In hindsight, do I think it was worth it? Like, no. Like, obviously it's beautiful. It's a beautiful quality. It's a beautiful product. But I'm also a bit frugally minded, you know? So for this pattern, this is a very basic pattern. There are other yarns that are way cheaper that I could have purchased to make this for a fraction of the price. And I think it would have looked just as nice, if not maybe like without the added frustration of having it like shedding all the time. I don't know how this will hold up, obviously, because I just finished it, but it seems to be holding up fine now. I don't actually think this is going to pill that much, but I mean, if I remember correctly, I think for 8 skeins I spent over $300, and that's an insane amount of money to spend on this, especially considering that I think I only used maybe I used 5.5 skeins for this, so definitely less than 1,000 yards. Just thinking about some of the yarns that I saw when I went to the new Le Mercier shop this past weekend, I could have bought the product to make this with a very high quality, durable yarn for maybe $100, $120 if I was really like going crazy with the quality. So, you know, it's so hard. Like, yes, this will be an heirloom. Yes, it's very special because of the source of the material, but realistically, I'm not as inclined these days to purchase yarn like this. Not that I'm not inclined to purchase from small producers, but I don't want every single purchase of yarn that I'm making to be this like crazy high pressure, oh, this is such a beautiful product, it was so expensive, it's from a small producer, like what am I going to do with it? Honestly, this created more stress for me than some of my other makes, purely because it was so expensive and I felt this pressure to make something that I knew I would love in the end. Like, there was not much margin for error because I invested so much in this from the beginning. So take that for what you will. I still think it's beautiful. I think the fit came out really nicely. I think that it's definitely one of those patterns that I could see myself making again, especially for gifts for people. It was super simple, very easy, and it has like really classy details on it. I should also mention that the buttons on it are my great-grandma and my grandma's button collection. My mom did a massive clean out in her closet a couple years ago, or she got gifted from her mom all of the buttons that they had collected from their sewing and whatnot, and these tortoiseshell buttons were from that. So just again, like another cool thing, I think, like using what I had. And now I have a piece of like my great-grandma Charlotte, that was her name, and then my grandma June. So just like a sweet thing, and I do love this, and I will always love it. But yeah, just like little reflections for the future and future purchases of product. So this will be exciting. Do y'all remember this stuff? This Lamb and Kids Surrey, and then this Biche Bouche Les Petites Lambs wool in turmeric. Yeah, well, I finally got my ish together and figured out what I was going to use this yarn for. I found a pattern in the 52 Weeks of Shawls. I believe it's the Aloft Shawl in that book. I was going to purchase a shawl pattern. I found a couple that I liked. I even started this a couple times, and I'm pretty sure I've talked about that in an episode of this before, and that is since no longer true. Whatever you heard about this in the past is no longer. Because this is new, I ripped that out and I cast this on, and I've been feverishly working on this to finish it and get it done and out of the way. It's a little hard to see right now, but I think you get the idea. You get the color. It's a classic triangular shawl design. I wanted to finish it before I filmed this, but I thought, screw it. Like, I just gotta film. I don't have time to be messing around with this. In general, I like it. I didn't do a gauge. The pattern originally calls for a US size 4 because it originally called for fingering weight yarn, I believe, or sport. And I didn't do that. I'm using a size 6 because I knew the Surrey and the lamb's wool held together for sure would be like bigger than what the original pattern called for. So I just went up to 6. I knew I could just tell that I would be okay with the gauge and the weight of it, and that I was just going to knit through until I ran out of yarn. So I think for the biggest size in that book, you can knit like a size 5, and that accounts for 5 repeats of the chart pattern. I got through 4, and then I only got through 1 of the like finishing charts. It's slightly different than the main pattern, but I did 1 repeat of that, and then I just ran out of yarn. So I'm just doing my bind off with a pretty reasonable amount left, like just this teeny tiny little bit left, which I'm pretty happy with. I can definitely use this in something. I'm sure I'll be doing more color work in the future, and this is like a really good staple weight and yarn, woolen spun yarn, that I'll be able to use in any and everything. I I think I'm gonna really like this. Obviously it's turning into summer, so I don't know when I will wear it next. I'm sure we'll have a cold day here, even though it's like middle of May. I'm a bit concerned though, like I probably will have to aggressively block this width-wise, because I've tried this on a couple times. Like I put it on additional needles or like needle extenders to try it on. It was, in general, I just could tell that it was going to be deeper than it was wide for my liking. It was already like the depth of it was already pretty deep when it wasn't wide enough. So just looking at this now, like this is going to be huge, massive, massive, huge. And I'm really hoping that if I block it aggressively enough, I'll be able to like wrap it comfortably, because I really don't want it to be awkwardly not wide enough to like wear like a scarf. I'm just a little curious about how it's going to block out. I'm trying to do my bind off really loosely so that I don't run into issues with it like buckling up on me, because I can already tell on the top where I have like started, you know, from the center and then worked my way out. I probably should have done this I-cord edging on it way looser, because there's a limit to like how much this is going to stretch, right? So, you know, live and learn. It was really fun to do all over lace like this for so long. It did break my brain quite a few times. I had to restart this like 4 or 5 times. I don't know why I was struggling so much, but I just was. I think it was a combination of things. I was really busy at work. I was traveling. I was trying to do it like on the road, so it was usually around distractions, and I was just making mad mistakes. I finally got the hang of it. I finally kind of was able to just do the repeats by sight and not have to reference the pattern, which is always like the sweet spot when you're doing any pattern. It just makes it so much more enjoyable when you can look at it by sight and then read the pattern that way. The yarn, I love. I love the color. I think it's totally my color. It's gonna go with a lot of stuff that I wear. And I love the suri. I mean, I think that even if I was to make a like a sweater out of this, I think it would be really soft, but still warm and like very lightweight. Like I love how this weight feels. I think even if it's really big and wide and deep, it's not gonna feel like too dense, which I really like. I probably even could have gone up a needle size and knit this with a 7. I think a 7 still would have been fine. But, you know, I didn't do a gauge, so what can you do? I just wanted to knit until I was out of this yarn, or couldn't do any more of the repeats. But yeah, I do recommend this pattern. I recommend the yarn combination. I think you could make a lot of really cool stuff with this yarn. And I don't got much else to say about it. This will be really fun when I get to show you guys what it looks like. All right. We got some acquisitions here. We got some purchases that have been made. The first one is pretty safe. It's just like I needed this for another project that I'm going to use my stash yarn for. But this is some more of the Sandnes Garn Tin Silk Mohair in their black color. What did I think I bought 6 of these. I really want to make, I think it's cardigan number 8 by Everything Knitwear. My favorite things knitwear. I really want to make that cardigan. I have some black DK weight wool, and I really wanted to hold it with a mohair. And that's what I'm going to use to make that. I think I'm going to actually cast that on either after I finish the yellow shawl, or maybe after I cast on one of the other, the summer top that I did buy yarn for. I know it wasn't exactly in the plan, but I did purchase it because my mom and I took a trip to Bainbridge Island to go to the new Le Mercier yarn shop, which is gorgeous. It is so aesthetic. It is so beautifully put together. The space is beautiful. The location is amazing. The prices are great. I just love it. And I had never used any Knitting for Olive yarns, and so I thought, what a great opportunity. I bought one skein of this oatmeal color, actually because I want to make a little like baby doll thing, like a little bunny out of this, and then embroider, you know, the eyes and the nose and all that on it. My best friend's having a baby soon, so I thought that would just be a really cute thing that I could mindlessly like whip up for her new baby. So that's what this is for. I also bought some more Knitting for Olive yarn. I bought 3 skeins of their red currant yarn, which is just so pretty. Not much I need to say about that, but I bought this because I really wanted to make a summer top. I've never really made summer tops before. I don't know why, but I was feeling inspired, and so I bought 3 skeins of the Knitting for Olive merino. It's a fingering weight 4-ply yarn, and I'm going to make the Lily Kate Makes Underlace top, which is a little crew neck top that has these like little lace cap sleeves, and then it has a little bit of lace work around the neckline as well. And I've always thought it was so cute and so pretty, and it would just be like crushing in red. I was trying to look at more practical colors like the neutrals and whatnot, and I immediately like was gravitating to this, and so I'm like, well, just go big or go home, right? So I went with red. All right. The last thing I purchased was for a steeking project that I'd like to do. I don't know when exactly I'm going to start this project because I bought Lopi yarn, which if you know anything about Lopi yarn, you know that it is very, very warm. It's very, very rustic, very scratchy, very, very warm. Definitely meant to be an outerwear, you know, fabric. I think I definitely, even I couldn't wear this next to skin, I don't think. But I really want to make a steeked cardigan with a little bit of color work, and I had picked out a couple patterns, a couple potential patterns, and so I just thought I would buy the yarn for it and then, you know, start that at some point. So I'll show you the colors that I got because I think they're going to be really, really cute. But these are the 2 colors. This one, this oatmeal-y color, is going to be the main color, and then this will be the contrast color. I actually think they're just numbers, so the light color is shade 1418, and then the darker one is 1420. So these are super cheap. Like, I think all in I needed like 12 skeins of this. Each skein is like 100 and some yards, and these are $7 each. So if you're wanting like a very practical, rustic, outside sweater, for sure check these out. If you're not planning on wearing it next to skin, it needs to be very functional. I think that this stuff is going to be great. I also have seen this knit up in one of the yarn shops that I go to, where it was knit with like a pretty loose gauge and washed up. I don't know if they used something on it to soften it, but it was actually not that scratchy. Like, it softened up a huge amount. So, you know, is it scratchy? Like, yeah, it's rustic for sure, but it is woolen spun. It's single ply, and so when it washes out, it's gonna like bloom like crazy. Actually, the Icelandic sweater that I have, the Radari sweater, I made that think that was my first color work project. And when I made that, it originally calls for this yarn. I didn't purchase this yarn, I purchased something else, but looking back, like, this would be a great yarn to use for that. Obviously, it was designed in that, so of course it would be great. But if I was to ever make it again, I think I would for sure purchase this yarn for it because it's just so practical. And I'm really excited to see how this knits up and see how it looks. I think it's going to be really durable. And I'm excited to have like something I can chuck on as like almost like a jacket almost. So very excited about that. And that's it, folks. That's it. Short video, I feel, but maybe I just get through these things fast. Like, I feel like I don't want to waste anyone's time. You know, this is what I made, this is what I bought, this is what I'm working on. I'm not going to show you my perennial sweater because I didn't take it with me to the East Coast and I've made no progress on it since you last saw it, so won't show you any of that. I'm trying to get some things finished out, trying to finish my Aloft Shawl, and then I'm hoping to have like a big cast on party for myself and just start a bunch of new things, and so that will be exciting when that happens. Lady sitting here right next to me. He always wants to be so close. It's really nice. But yeah, that's what's going on. So I hope you're all, you know, doing well. I hope you're all getting to make the things that you want to make, and yeah, finding joy. I'm really excited for summer. I'm really excited for my trip with my sister. We're gonna go to LA for a couple days, and it's just gonna be a good time. So if you're wherever you are in the world, stay classy, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Also, what I'm wearing, I forgot to mention, I am wearing my Tessellated Vest. I will put the link to, you know, the video where I talk a lot about this down below so you can find it, but this is the Tessellated Vest in a small by Andrea Mowry.